Hello.
Hello. Hi, Hamid. Oh, I think froze a little bit there. Oh, am I frozen? Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm glad everyone made it to we start at 7:30 p.m. Afghan times, but looks like everyone's here. So, or most people are here. So it's great. That is great. Okay, let's dive in today. Okay, first of all, I want to make sure that um was everyone able to complete assignment one? Let me look in the chat. How was assignment one? Was everyone able to complete it? I'm really looking forward to seeing I'm gonna look at everyone's assignment number one. Um, it's assignment one is always it's a fun assignment because I get to learn about your interests and your hobbies. A lot of people put their favorite TV show or their favorite, favorite movie, favorite artist, favorite musician, or just favorite thing in general. It's a lot of fun. Um, my video here. Hey, great. Now that you've completed assignment one, we're going to be learning new topics. So more advanced topics, and we're going to keep building and building and keep going until we make a complete website. So yeah, a couple just small things actually. Some announcements. So I mentioned in an announcement yesterday your assignment and then your labs. We're going to start grading your labs and assignment. And for your labs, the labs are from Free Code Camp. So for Free Code Camp, this is what I posted yesterday. For Free Code Camp, to check that your work, we need to make your profile public. It's okay if you don't put your name on Free Code Camp. It's okay to keep that kind of stuff private, but we do need your username, which you already submitted in Lab Zero, and you're going to have to go to your settings and change your portfolio and timeline setting to public. These two to public. Oh, and also your profile. So these three things, public. If you need help with that, you can do that in a breakout lab today. And if you want to check if it's working, you just want to go to your free code camp, go to get your username, and then you can let's see, grab this, and you can open we in Chrome there's something called new incognito window. This means like it's as if like you've never logged in or anything before. And then if you're able to go to your link like this and in an incognito window, and you see your stuff and you see like timeline here, and you see how it shows you exactly what steps you finished. This is how we're going to check your free CodeCamp, your lab work. So um, yeah, again, we can talk more about it. You can work more on it on breakout room, and that our learning assistants or LAs will reach out to you if they have problem accessing your work. So keep an eye out on that. Oh, I'm just reading our chat here. Okay. All right. So, okay, so that's that. Was that everything I wanted to talk about for now? Okay, great. Okay, so let's dive into today's lesson number 5. So now that we did assignment number 1, we did lab number 2 and 3. Now that everyone's getting really good at coding, I'm gonna start giving you more and more exercises. So I'm gonna assign you today assignment number 2. So you're gonna get your second assignment for the class. Oh, let me go and unhide that for us real quick. Here it is, assignment number 2. Okay, so now that we learned about how to make a basic page, I'm going to introduce you to something called form elements, or we're going to be creating like forms like these. You've probably seen forms like these everywhere on a website. Every time you have to create an account on some place, even Free Code Camp, when you made an account, you have to fill out a form. When you go to Google, even google.com, and when you search for something, this is also a form as well. Like when I search for, I don't know, pizza or something, you're typing into a form and you click enter, you're submitting a form to Google. Same thing with YouTube. When you go to YouTube, you have search bar and you want to look something up. I was looking up Taylor Swift, for example. You're submitting what we call a form to YouTube's website. Forms are everywhere. This is a basic way for a user to interact with your website is a form. So this week, today and Thursday, we're going to be talking about how to create a form like this, and also how to use some CSS to make the form look kind of nice like this. So this is going to be your assignment. And then when you submit the form, you're going to have a confirmation message as well, like this. So it's a little bit of a longer assignment than assignment 1, but ultimately you are going to be creating a form this week. So this assignment is going to be all the assignments are going to be due on Tuesday. This assignment is going to be due next Tuesday on November 14th at 12 p.m. AFT Afghan time. Alrighty, so this is what we're going to be doing this week. Let me go ahead and put it in the chat as well. Recap this week, we will learn how to create forms. Oh, thank you, Hamid, for the update. Great. I'm glad. Great. We have 20 people coming to office hours. Great. So Hamid is having office hours for everybody where you can ask for help and ask for more detailed questions. And especially it's very helpful for your first assignment and any other issues you might have. So good job for people that went. And students, welcome you to go to office hours. Office hours are on, was it Monday and Fridays, I think. So yes, please. Yeah, it's not required. Office hour is not required. So it's fine if you can't make it to them. It's optional. Yeah. So let me put that in the chat. But we just want to know about Hamid is telling us like how many people are coming, just so I kind of know. It's not we're not gonna, yeah. Okay, All right, so let me recap in the chat here. Type to search YouTube. All right, so recap here. This week we're going to talk about forms. Forms are so important because forms are the basic way of how users interact with your website. And eventually you want users to be able to submit some information to you. So when you have people submit information to you, eventually we need to save this information somewhere. That's where actually that's the job of the server side. Remember back in our first lecture, I talked about server side versus front end versus back end, or back end versus front end. So today we're only going to create the look and feel of the form. And then in the future, we'll talk about how to actually save this form somewhere and where you can like retrieve the information later and things like that. But today we're gonna start talking about how to create a form like this. All right, let us jump in. Let's go to my workspace. Today I have a workspace. We're gonna start a kind of a new workspace here. So I'm going to go ahead and this is lesson number 5, allow public access. And I'm going to give you this. All right. So I'm going to give you some code to start with today. So please go to my workspace here and fork the workspace to make a copy. All righty. So please make a copy of this workspace. Yeah, sure. There's a question in the chat. Can you send this on Edstem? Yeah. Let's see. Let's do it on my discussion here. Sure, yeah, good suggestion. Here you go. Is that helpful? All right, so I posted it on on our discussion here. Let me know if that's working for you. Okay, great. All righty. And if this is not quite working for you, it is okay. This is a quick thing I want to go over, and then we're gonna jump into forms. So it's okay if it's not quite working for you, just as long as you kind of understand this concept here. So actually, before I talk about forms, there's one thing I want to talk about. It's called inline and block elements, right? Inline and block elements. Again, now that you are getting more and more practice with these HTML and CSS things, you might start to notice that there are certain things that are coming kind of interesting, some interesting default behavior. For example, you might have noticed that like whenever I make an H1 tag, here's a H1 is about USC, or like a P tag, that's my first paragraph over here, it creates like a line break. So like when I create H1, right away it puts it here, and then it creates some space, and then the following element, the following tag goes to the next line. Like it jumps to the next line. Whereas some other tags like anchor link, for example, here's an anchor link right over here. Thorn Scythe, this anchor link right over here. Even if I put like line breaks like this, links they just stay in line. They just kind of stay in place in that one row. And this is not by coincidence. There's a reason for this. Some of these tags, some of these elements, by default, they're what we call block elements. They they take up all the space. Their width is really wide. So even if I change my browser width here, notice the text kind of changes along with it. That's a block element. Whereas like an anchor link like this, these are what we call inline elements. They stay in line. Kind of interesting there. Though that's so this behavior is default created by a property called display. So by default, this paragraph, these block elements have a display property of block. So if I give it like a background color, pink, for example, notice like block elements, they take up all that space. Because by default, they go from edge to edge. Do you remember section, header tags, footer tags? They are all block elements as well. They have a default display block. That's why they have this, they take up all the space. We could give it like a width of like 50 pixels or something, or that's too small, like 300 pixels or something. And they act like boxes. They just kind of change as you'd like. These are block elements. Anchor links, on the other hand, here's the actually images do this too. Let me get rid of this. Images also, by default, images are also inline elements. They actually like to go next to each other, side by side. But if you give it like if you give it a display block like this, notice now all of my images go in its own row. Same thing with here's my anchor link right here. If I do display block, now it went to its own, the whole link went to its own row. Let's give it a background color like yellow or something. There we go. It's in its own line now. And even my paragraph, if I wanted to change it to display inline, I can. Now it's all going to be in They're all going to be together like this. It's not going to make line breaks. Yeah, let me type in the chat. It's a little bit funky, but I just want to let you know that by default, some elements have CSS property of display block or display inline. Okay, display block elements Okay, yeah, just a quick little, just FYI, if you are, because once you start working on is, you might have seen this in assignment 1 as well. Once you start working on making more complicated websites, you might be wondering like, hey, how come like some tags are like, I can like change the width and I can like add margin and padding and all this stuff, but like it's not working quite similar to inline elements and like or some other elements where they won't make a new row and like the width is kind of weird. So keep that in mind. So most of the time, if you want to work with like width, margin, padding, height, you want to work with block elements. And if you need to convert something into a block element, you totally can, like an anchor link like this. Like if my anchor link did not have display block, for example, I wouldn't be able to give it a width at all. Here, let me like, if I did width, inline elements don't take width, for example. So in the slides here, I did write all the differences between a block and inline. So if the outer box has display type of block, here's the things that are able to do. If the display type is inline, these are the behaviors you're going to see. So just want to point that out in case you're starting to see some weird behavior, like, hey, how come, my images aren't going to the next line? It's probably because it does not have a display block, or by default, images have a display inline. Questions. Kind of a weird thing, but I wanted to show you. But any questions so far? Okay. Let us jump into forms then. Yay, let's do forms. Let's create in the same workspace, go ahead and click on the plus icon here. Let's create a new file. We can create new files in here. And let's call this form.html, form.html. So click on this, again, file icon, click on new file right here, and then do form.html. And it's going to create a new file for you here on the side. And in a workspace, you can have multiple files and folders. It's pretty nice over here. Yeah. So recap, create a new file in the same workspace. And then we can close the display one for now. Let's do that. Let's close it. Here's my form. Let's click on Open Web Preview here. Okay. And let's go ahead and create our, oh man, it's been a while, but let's go ahead and put in our HTML skeleton. Woohoo. It's again been a bit. Okay, and then let's start our HTML skeleton and let's create our first form. So to create a form, guess what? There is a tag for it. There's literally a tag called form, just like that, FORM, and there's a closing tag. So anytime you want to create a form, anytime you want to create a form like this, anytime you want to create a form, you need at in the very beginning, you need a form tag like this. So far, we don't see anything showing up here because that's all we did so far. Okay. Right. And let's see, what kind of form should we make? I'm gonna make a form where we ask, let's see. Yeah, I want to make a form about, let's make like an order form. So when you make an or like when you want to order something from a website, you have like an order form, right? So I think like an order form will be fine. And I heard that in Afghanistan people really love to drink tea, so maybe we'll make a tea order form, like a where we can um order some delicious tea. So let's give like an H1 in here. Let's do tea order. So tea order form. And let's remember we can add emojis in our site. I want to grab one real quick. Ooh, I like this one. Let's add it there. Shakiba said that tea is more important than dinner or lunch. All right. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna make a fake order form where users are gonna be able to enter like their name, like their email, their information, and then we're gonna and then maybe some tea information that they want to order, and then we're gonna submit this form. Let's see if Farzana doesn't have voice. Let's see. Try clicking on arrow in my post. Alrighty, so let's make our let's make our let's make our T form. All right. And then let's also give maybe like some description, like with paragraph tag, like please submit this form to order delicious tea or something like that. There you go. We have a nice little thing. Oh, and you know what? We should be practicing using our layout tags. Remember header? we should have like a header here. So let's do that. This is going to be like our header. Our T order form. We have H1 tag. Please submit this form to order delicious tea. And then we should probably have like a main, you know, right? Because we've learned that stuff too. Indentation is important. Don't forget to indent. And let's do main like this. Okay. All right. All right, let's go back to form now. Okay, so in this form tag also takes two different attributes. There's an action attribute and a method attribute. Okay, action is going to be what happens when this form is submitted. And then method is how are we going to submit this form? We'll come back to these attributes later when we're ready to actually submit this form. Right now, we just want to create the form, but I'm going to leave that blank for now. But there's my form here. Okay, the first thing I'm going to say is, okay, let's get the user's name. We're going to put their name. We're going to ask for their name. All right, name just like that. And then if anybody watched the lesson 5 video, does anybody remember the tag that you created to make a place where users can type their name in? Let me ask in the chat. Anyone remember from lesson 5? Oh, placeholder, that's a good guess. There's a tag for this. Label, yep, yeah. So we got some Yasna direct message me and got it correctly. It's input. Oh, Rocat got it too. Input. Great. Now input is one of those tags that does not have a closing tag. You could just do input. Sometimes we like to put a slash here like this just to say, okay, this is the end of my tag. That's fine as well, but there's no like end there. Great, yeah, great. Thanks everybody. Shakiba, thank you. Everybody, people are giving me the right answer. Awesome. All right, so input. This input tag gives us this little box where users can type their name and it's kind of nice. There's an attribute in input that's very important called type. This is very, very important. When we could do text. Now the user can type in like their piece of text. You could if this was input type password, for example, user can like you've seen these before, these little dots, that's the password. That's how you make it you hide what the user is typing. You could even do like input like number, and then this becomes like a where you can only type in numbers now. So there's this type attribute is very powerful. So you want to choose the one that fits your needs. You could even do like input color, and then the user can like choose like a color and stuff like that. So this type attribute, very, very important. So depending on what you put in the type attribute, it's gonna that field where the user can type stuff in is gonna change. There's even like input type range where you could even do like sliding stuff like this. Yeah, a lot of different types you have in here. We're gonna stick with text for a name. All right, there we go. Now we have a nice name and the input tag. There's another thing I want to put in here though. So name is the name, it's just a piece of text right next to my input tag, right? But there's as a human, we are able to see that the name and the tag are next to each other, so they must be related to each other. But the browser or the computer itself actually has no idea that name and input are related to each other. So we need to kind of like link these two together. And to do that, this is where another tag called label comes in handy. Label. The label has a closing tag, so you need a slash here. So when you want to label a field, you want to add this label tag like this. Label tag, label. So input. Notice that, okay, we got label, awesome. And then we're gonna give label a for attribute. And let's call this like, I don't know, name. Yeah, let's just call it name. Okay. Name, for name. And then in my input tag, I'm gonna give my input tag an ID. And I'm gonna give that name as well. Name. So the for attribute on label is the same as the ID attribute here. Okay. And what this does is now, if I actually click on the name, notice like my input tag kind of highlights. Like when I click on name, the input tag kind of like lights up there. That's great. That's telling me that this label tag and this input tag are now related to each other. They're associated with each other. Okay, so this is really important. Anytime you have a label tag, or anytime you create a form, you want to do label and input together like this. And by the way, even if I put a bunch of line breaks like this, notice that there's no line breaks happening. It's again because label and input tags are both also they're inline elements. So if I want to style this, I'm gonna have to use more different CSS and stuff, which we'll talk about how to make the form look pretty on Thursday. But here we go. Name and input. And Yasna pointed out a good one, placeholder. There's a few attributes here that are useful. Here's another one, placeholder. Placeholder. Okay, placeholder. What placeholder does is you can actually put like your name, there you go, and it's in gray, and it's like a placeholder so the user knows, oh, I need to put my name in here. Once the user starts typing, that placeholder goes away. So the placeholder is temporary to like just say, okay, this is just an example of what you can put in the thing. Yeah, nice job. Thanks for that suggestion, Yasna. And welcome, Sonia. There's another attribute in all of our input tags we need to put. Visually, we're not going to see anything change, but this is also required. There is an attribute called name, right? Name. I know it sounds weird. Name. But this also tells the browser that, okay, we have this attribute that's going to be used. That's another way to name my input tag. Yeah. Visually, again, nothing really changes, but you want to have this for later when we actually submit this form. Okay, now let's ask the user for their email address. I'm gonna do another label here. Label. Let's ask for email address. Email address. There we go. And let's give it like a for again. Like let's call this email. And then I'm gonna do another input tag. And then we're gonna do email this time. There we go. Now if I click on the email address, it's gonna pop up there. If I click on name, here we go. Okay. And this email address is nice, is because it's actually gonna check for me that we're writing an email address. If I don't put a real email address in here, we're actually gonna get like an error. So this email type is gonna be useful for us a little bit later on. All right, any questions so far? Let me try, any questions so far? So anytime, just to kind of recap here, for every field that you want the user to fill in, you need a label tag and yeah, good question. Rokia asks, is name attribute yet necessary? Yes, name attribute is necessary for later when the form is submitted. We won't see it do anything right now. It is useful. Yeah, I know it's kind of there, not doing much. Yep, yeah, great. Shugo was like, what about checkbox? Yep, there's more. We gotta do more of these. Yep, let's do more. Now let's ask for like, how about like what kind of now that we have their info, let's ask them what kind of tea would you like to drink? Like we call these radio buttons. Radio buttons. You've seen these kind of before, like these circle buttons before, where the user can select one of them. We call these radio buttons. Let's ask for that. Let's give a label again. Label and ask for type of tea. Like what kind of tea would you like? Let's ask for what kind of tea would you like? And then we're gonna do radio type buttons. Let's do input type radio, like that. And then the moment I created a radio type, look at this little circle right here. Oh, there we go. This input type equals radio creates this little circle here. And I want to ask you, what kind of tea option should we offer? What is your favorite tea? Green tea, okay. Green tea. There we go. We got green tea. Green tea is also going to need a label. Excuse me. Let me some line breaks here. Let's add another radio. We got black tea. All right, cool. Let's do like maybe one more. Coffee. I also really like coffee, but let's do ginger tea. Green tea in the summer and black tea in the winter. That's great. Great suggestion. Okay. All right, let's look at the radio buttons now. So these radio buttons right now, I can click on all of them. That's actually not good. For radio buttons like this, you want to allow the user to only select one. Only select one. This is where actually all these, now we're gonna have to write some more attributes in here. This is where actually that name attribute comes in very handy. Name. Let's do T choice like this. If all the radio buttons have the same name like this, so all three radio buttons, all of them, I'm kind of grouping them together with name T choice. Now I'll be able to only select one of them. Okay, so this is actually where name does come in. This is the one place name does come in handy, the name attribute. If they all have the same name, then I can choose, like I can choose only one out of the entire all the radio buttons. Great. Now let's add some more attributes in here. So remember our for ID, we need the same thing for our radio button things here. So we have my radio button. I got a name. Let's give it an ID here. Call this one uh green tea. Green tea for green tea. And another nice thing about doing the ID and for thing is that now because my this radio button and my label is linked together, now if I click on green tea, the text green tea, it chooses that the radio button for me. I don't have to click on this. So same thing here. ID attribute, a lot of attributes in forms, right? We're gonna do black tea, label is for black tea. Okay, and now I can click on the black tea text or green tea text and it'll select the radio button for me because the button, the radio button and the radio input tag and my label tag are now linked together. So it's kind of nice. Okay. Let's do the same thing for my ginger tea here. Yeah, we have yes, Shigofa asked the question, can we change radio type to another type? Yeah, there's a lot of types out there. I'm gonna show you a checkbox next. Yeah, so you choose the type that you want to work with. So this is radio right now. If I want, I could change this to something else if I'd like. But for this, I want the user to choose what type of tea do you want and choose only one of them. So that's why I did like a radio for. So anytime you want the user to choose just one thing, we use radio, type equal radio. So right now I'm kind of notice it's right now everything is just in one line like this right now. Right, everything is in one line. And if I change the browser, it's gonna do this. It's gonna like kind of change it. Again, this is the whole idea about inline elements. My label, my input tags, these are all in this. They have a display type of inline. That's why they're all doing this. So I could like modify this a little bit. This is kind of whenever I want to start structuring some of our form elements, there is a tag called div. Div tag is very similar to like our section, header, footer tag. A div is just like a generic block tag, a block element that allows us to group things together. So I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna put a div around my just the name like that, my name and label, just so I can create this nice little line break in between. Same with the email here. I'm just gonna do div like this, indent, and put a div tag like that. All right, now I got name and then email address. Oh, Mina asked a very good question in the chat. Let me finish this up real quick, and then we'll answer your question. So we're gonna do div. We're gonna add another div, indent, put all of my T stuff in to my div, and then I'm gonna close a div. There we go. Type of T, email address, name. So I'm just creating these divs, and I'm grouping each kind of category together, name and an email address and a type of T, just so we can have some nice line breaks like this. That's all. And yeah, so what if like so right now I have my input. Mina's question is great question. What if we replace where things are? So right now I have my radio button first, and then I have my label tag second, like this. That's the order. But I could have also put the label tag first, and then the input tag. And then now the order switched. So I got green tea, and then a little radio button right there. So we can always change the order. The input tag is just that circle. The label is a piece of text that labels that text right there. Did that answer your question, Mina? Great question. So Yasna asked, what about BR tag? Like, can't we use this BR tag? And then the BR tag, you can use BR tags to create some spaces like this. Yeah, great question. So BR tag is useful when you just want to make a space and that's it. But so div and BR are very similar. BR creates spaces for you really, really fast. However, later on, you want to create spaces using, you want to let CSS do its job. CSS is really good at creating space and doing all the aesthetics. So instead of relying on BRs to make spacing for you, it's a lot more easier to work with in the long run to let your CSS create space for you. And that's why we have divs here. So later on, I could say like if I have my CSS, for example, my div tag, I can give it like, I can control it so much easier. I can give like a background color to all of them. I can like do margin bottom too and give them like a specific space. So div and BR do similar things. They do create space for you, line breaks for you. But in the long run, later on, when you want to start styling things, making things look nice, it's going to be so much easier to use div, to control a div, to create CSS rules for a div than for BRs. That's why we're using divs here. Yeah, great question. Really, really great question. Yeah, BR is like just for really quick stuff. But for long term, when you want to style and make things look nicer, you want to use you want to start using divs. Okay, let's yeah, it's a good question. We have aren't like main section div tags, aren't they like all the same? Yeah, they're very similar. They actually, all they do is visually they don't really change things. All they do is help us create some structure. So like header, is for the top of the page. excuse me. Main is for the main part of the page. Footer is for the bottom of the page, but yes, they all do very similar things. They just give us a name for some of these tags just to keep things organized. And then divs are a little bit more generic. There, you can use divs anywhere. Whereas like header, you have to probably use it for the header, right? But divs, you can just kind of throw it anywhere you need. Great questions. Okay, let's do a few more. Let's do a few more here. So we have checkboxes, great. Now, I'm sorry, radio buttons, great. Let's do a checkbox next. Let's do a checkbox next. Let me move our code down here a bit. Let's do a checkbox. We'll put another div here. We're gonna do let's see. How about like, what would you like to add to the tea? Some people like to add like a little something to their tea, like little toppings and things like that. Let's create another input type here, and we're gonna do checkbox. So for checkbox, we're gonna let users choose a little bit more things they want to add. Let's do any suggestions on what kind of, so label here. So input type checkbox gives us that little checkbox here. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Yeah, I can't. All right. Any suggestions on what kind of tea things to add to the tea? How about, do you guys like to put like honey, maybe? Honey, and then we can do sugar. Yeah, we'll check this. See, honey. So we got a checkbox here. Nice. And then similarly, we're going to add some for tag. That is called as like honey. We need an ID, same thing, honey. We're gonna name this, we're gonna group these checkboxes together. We're gonna call it like add choice, something like that. All right. We're gonna do honey. Let's do sugar. Thank you. Sugar. Okay, sugar. I'm just gonna copy paste this over. We got some cinnamon. Ooh, I like cinnamon. How do I spell cinnamon? Okay, cinnamon. Cool. There we go. So checkboxes are a little bit different. Checkboxes, you can just select as many as you'd like. Oh. Awesome. Yes, Masoma, that is going to be my next one. What about like where you can click and you see a list of options and you could choose one? Yes, that's called a we call these a select tag, drop down items. Let's create another div for this, a div for this here. And let's ask for, how about like city? What city do you live in? Like city. And then let's do a select option like this. Select a select tag, right? And then in my select, we're gonna add some options. Option like this. The first one we're gonna say, just say select one. And there we go. We see a little drop down like this. Select one. And then we're gonna do option. Okay. Let's see, what are some popular cities in Afghanistan? Yes, Herat is a big one. Herat is the one with the had the earthquakes not too long ago. I hope you guys are all okay. Kabul. Oh, Kabul is a capital, right? Some Mazar. Ooh, okay, I haven't heard of that one before. Let's do one more here. Let's see, not heard that one before either. Great. Now we have this list where we can choose which one. Here we go. So we have a select tag, and then inside the select tag, you want to have these option tags so you can choose one. Okay, and then these are going to need a bunch of attributes too, because, well, that's in forms, it's all about these attributes. We're going to do label for the city. Let's do select is going to have, there's no input tag in this one. So this drop down is a little bit unique. We don't have a input tag. We're going to do a for and an ID like this. Okay, and then so now they're linked together. And then each of my options here is going to have a name, right? Name. And the name is for, they're all gonna have the same name. They're all gonna have the same name like this. Right? They're all gonna have the same name because they're all part of the same. This is all one. This is all one. Yeah, this is all one drop down option, so they're all gonna have the same name. Alrighty, and then a couple more, just a few more. So we got great. This is looking like a great form. We got some select, we got check boxes, we got radio buttons. I gotta show you one more. How about like for like longer, if you want to give them some longer feedback, like longer piece of text. So this is where we have another, I'm gonna put a div tag here. We're gonna do label again, and this time we're gonna say like maybe like uh maybe some extra information about your order or something like that. And then we're gonna let the user kind of type in their stuff. There's another, this one's a little unique. There's another tag called text area for this. Text area. Yep, yeah, Yasna, great. You got the correct tag. So text area. Yep, text area gives you this comment box where the user can type like a lot of stuff in. And we got the same thing. We need a for here. We need a city here. We're gonna need a text area ID is like not city. What am I saying? Info or something, and then info. And then the very last thing, and then we'll do a quick review. But the very last thing is we need a button, right? We need like a submit button to, like we need a some kind of button. So div here. We need a button, like a submit button, where the user can like submit something. You could do type submit, button type, button tag. type submit, and just like that, I have a submit button. Okay, why don't I try clicking submit and see what happens? Oh, okay, cool. All right, so this is where some interesting things happen. So in my, remember my email address? My email address right here, I have an input type email, and my type, the type attribute here is email. So if I type something in, and this is not an email address, and I try to submit it, it's, oh, take a look at this. So by default, this is a default thing that comes with all browsers nowadays, is that it's gonna do some, this is what we call validation. It's gonna do some basic validation for us. What validation does is it quickly checks, it quickly just checks what the user typed in and make sure that they fill the requirement. So here's another one, like here's my name, input name, for example. I could add another attribute in this input tag. A lot of attributes, right? A lot of input tags. When you're working with forms, you work with so many different attributes. There's an attribute called required, right? Required here. And I could put it in any input tag. So if I submit this right now without putting a name, take a look. It says, please fill out this field. Same thing, I could do this in my email address as well. If I try to submit, it's going to say, hey, you didn't fill out this field. So if I put my name and I try to submit again, it's going to say, hey, you forgot to fill out this field. So you can add this required wherever you'd like. Okay, and you could even do things like just validation when you're submitting form. This keyword validation is so important because we want to make sure the user is not submitting some weird data. We want to get some good information, right? Whoever receives this order, we want to make sure we're gonna get the right information so we can make this order. So this term validation is very important. We could even say things like min length, for example. Min length, like, and let's do like, I'm gonna just do like 3. What that means is when I type in a name, if I only type in one letter, right, one letter for my name, nobody, or very few, I don't know anybody that has one letter name. All of them, maybe these days you can. And if I do that and I try to submit it, oh, let me put a real address here, something. It's, oh, maybe I spelled that wrong. Let me try that again. Okay, there we go. Min length. There you go. It's going to say, hey, please make sure this text has 3 characters or more. All right, so min length. So there's a lot of these validation attributes that help you kind of quickly check by using default method to check how many letters you're using. You make sure it's an email, make sure it's required, so on and so forth. So let me go ahead and recap in the chat right here. Okay, any questions? Okay, Last thing I want to show you, and then we're going to do, so in breakout room today, we're going to do lab number 3. For lab 3, you're going to practice these forms. But I want to show you one last thing. What about if I want to actually submit the form now that I have everything, if I click submit, I want to show like a thank you message, kind of like this, where after I submit the form, I want to see like a thank you message, like, thank you, your form, has been like submitted, or something like that. This is where, let's go back to our form method, a form action and method attribute here. This is where we can say, okay, what's going to happen when I submit this form? I'm going to say, okay, when I submit this form, I want to send it to like a new page called like thank-you.html or something. I don't know, a new file. The method I'm going to do is post. Okay, we'll talk more about this method a little bit later. But for now, just go ahead and put all uppercase post and do thank-you.html. And then I'm going to create a new file here, another new file. And we're going to call it thank-you.html, just like that, thank-you.html, thank-you.html. And they live in the same, they're neighbors, they live right next to each other. So I can, say thank-you.html. And then in here, oh boy, let me go ahead and type my, I'll just say like, thank you for submitting the form or something. Just really quick, something quick on the, in my, here. Okay, thank-you.html. So again, in my form action, I put thank-you.html, method equals post. So when I submit this form now, hopefully there you go. And my thank you is very simple. It just says, thank you for submitting the form. That's it. So let me try my form here. Let's try here. I'm going to type in my name, my email address. I'm going to type in like green tea. I want some honey and sugar in it. My city is Kabul. Extra sweet or something. And then click submit. And oh, you know what? I think I might have to do get here. Let me try that again. Here we go. Honey, sugar, carrot, yum. Submit. There you go. It says, thank you for submitting the form. It's going to pull up my thank-you.html file here. Let me do a recap real quick. I'm just gonna do a quick review of everything we talked about today. So, and if there's questions, please type in the chat. So today what we did is we created our own, the very first time we made a form like this. To create a form, we want a form tag like this here. This action attribute and method attribute help us it tells us what happens when I submit a form. So I created a thank-you.html file with just like simple text. I created the file by clicking the plus icon, clicking new file. So when I submit this form, we're going to go to thank-you.html. It's going to show me this. That's why we have it here. The method, just put get for now. I'll explain what that is in a future class. This is for now, just put it like this, forget. Okay, and then we're going to have, we have all these, so many tags and so many attributes here. But if there's a common pattern. Every time you want to write a piece of text for a field, you're going to do a label tag. And then after that, these input tags, the input tags are usually for like where the user can type. It can be type text, it could be type email, it could be type radio. Radio buttons are the ones that you can choose only one of. You can have a checkbox where you can choose multiple of them at once. And then there's this drop down one's a little bit different. You have a select tag and a bunch of option tags inside. So that's there we go. And then and for like a longer piece of text, you can use text area. So select and text area are the only different tags. All the other ones, they use input tag. And then lastly, there's a button, type equals submit, that allows you to create a button like this. If you just for fun, let me just show you one more button. There's also a button called reset here. Reset here. So what's nice about reset, like you can have type equals reset, is that when you click reset, it cleans up the whole form for you, like resets the form. So it's kind of nice. Okay, and the last thing we added was validation. Keyword, it's a big word here. Validation. I like this, for example, required. So when I added a required attribute to my my name here. So if I try to submit this right now, it's going to give me an error. It's going to say, oh my gosh, like you didn't fill it out. So validation is important. So by default, browsers do validation for us. That's what the required is for. Min length just means this, you have to type in at least 3 characters into the name. So you can't just say N is your name. You have to put your whole name in here. So if I only put N, NA, it's gonna say, hey, you need to have at least 3 characters for your name. So that's what min length is for. Yeah. Cool. Great. So let's get some more practice with this. I will share this link with you all if you want to. Here is my entire code. Okay, on Ed as well. All right, let me put that in the I wonder if I can add like workspace in here. Okay. I'll just put in discussion for now, and then I'll figure out a nice place to put this. Yeah. Today's right. I got a good question in chat. Like, what about like how can I make it red? Like if I, if it's not like if they didn't meet the requirements, how can I make it red? So that all that stuff is actually we need to use a different language called JavaScript for it. So we won't be covering JavaScript in this class, but in a future level, yes, we can use JavaScript to do that. That's where things get really fun, is you can, as user interacts with your website, you can like make it change colors and change things. So yeah. Oh yeah, it's really okay if you can't join the meeting or you have internet problems. You can always watch the recording, and as long as you complete your assignments and labs, that's really what is important. Um, so it is okay. Okay, all right. For your lab number 2, if you go to Less Ed and then go to Lesson, and then click on lesson number 5, this is going to be your lab number 3. It's going to be the same free CodeCamp, the building a cat photo app that you've been working on. And now you're going to do steps 32 to 69, which is, I think that's the rest of the, that's the rest of the, that's the rest of the first one. Yeah. Yeah. You're going to basically finish this thing here. If you, for whatever reason, if you already finished it and you want to more practice, you can actually go to this part here, learn HTML forms by building a registration form. You can do some of this here. Or you can also start on, if you want to, you can go ahead and start on assignment number 2. Assignment number 2 is right over here. Assignment number, you can get started on it. On Thursday, we're going to talk about how to make the form look prettier and things like that. Okay, so we're going to go into breakout room now. We are going to go to breakout room now. In the chat. You're going to create 4 breakout rooms. And give me 1 second. Let me make sure we got everybody here. Nine. All right, ready? We are going to right. I am seeing some questions. Yeah, I'll go ahead and respond. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and open the rooms. Righty, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you, teacher.
Yeah, welcome. Okay, so I hope you had a good breakout room session, got some of your questions answered, and got started on lab number 3. On Thursday, when we meet on Thursday, we're going to continue more with forms. I'm going to show you how to style the form. So write CSS to make the form look cleaner, add some background images, and we're going to just do a little more with CSS. So that should give you all the info you need to complete your assignment number 2 that is due next Tuesday. Okay, so but the order of things you should work on is you want to do lab 3 before doing assignment number 2, because lab 3 will give you some practice and some immediate feedback. Free code camp is great because it gives you like immediate feedback on what went wrong. And then you can do assignment number 3 is a little bit more free. So, and you kind of can do what you want and stuff. So do lab 3 number, please first. Did anybody have any other questions about forms or anything in general that we can answer? Oh, thank you I'm looking at the chat. Thank you all for your kind of words. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Okay, I guess everybody's good. Then we can end like a little, just like 2 minutes early today. Have a wonderful rest of your night. I'm going to be posting another video for you to watch before coming to Thursday's class. So please take a look at that. And I'll see you everybody on Thursday. Have a great rest of your night. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, teacher. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Goodbye, teacher.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.